This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day. Carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unified Purpose, the podcast where we share inspiring tales of compassion, resilience, and community spirit. I'm your host, Oliver, Penji's partnership advisor, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Dr. Terence Lester of Love Beyond Walls. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oliver, thank you for having me. It's really great to be with you for the Unified Purpose podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be. So before we dive in, I'd like to warm up with a quick game called Pitch Me This. You'll have 30 seconds to sell me on this app idea that I had. So are you ready for it?
Yep.
Okay, the prompt for today is, well, this is a nice one. A mobile app that sends you daily reminders, but the reminders come from random strangers across the world in many different languages. Go.
Yeah, so have you ever overbooked yourself or been double booked for meetings, or have you ever had your alarm clock go out in the middle of the night? I know I have,
yep.
And I know my children have many times. And if not, that's probably their excuse. What if you had an app that would remind you to serve as a backup to your backup? An app that would shoot you the details in your language in a way that is not overwhelming, but they're small nudges. I think we all need nudges all throughout the day. And that nudge could save you from being late to a meeting, missing an important email, or taking an important phone call. That could make all the difference. So with this app, I'm proposing to you that if you invest in this app, you will help save many lives. I don't know.
I'm actually sold. I'm sold. Yeah, don't worry about this. All of these ideas, they come from a random prompt generator that I have here. Actually, one of my favorite ideas that we had here in the show was about a restaurant that changes its menu every 10 minutes. We delve deep into like the problems and how you could game the restaurant's menu. So yeah, it's just great to see that we have our creativity out there. So yeah, to start us off, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how Love Beyond Walls came to life?
Yeah, currently I am the founder and executive director of Love Beyond Walls. I am native to Atlanta, Georgia, which is in the U.S. Been here my entire life and really got passionate about not only education, but serving those who are unhoused, meaning people who don't have an address. I grew up in a setting that was deeply impoverished and got a chance to overcome a lot of those challenges. And I always dreamt of using my education, my skills to serve those who I could identify with. I mean, when you think about it, every single day there's somebody who is going hungry, whether it's a student or someone who's living on the streets. Right now, as we're having this discussion, there's some person that needs access to a shower or access to a shelter bed or access to a house or access to some of the things that many people take for granted. And so with our work through Love Beyond Walls, we come alongside people who are unhoused and we become the community that fills those gaps. If a person needs a meal, we're showing up with meals. If a person needs access to a shower, hygiene, sanitation, we're showing up with that. If a person just needs community to fight back against the invisibility that persists against them because they don't have an address. We become that community. If a person needs access to a job or housing or some of the things that helps them to survive day to day, that's what we do. I'm really passionate about it because I think poverty is pervasive in our world, and specifically here in the U.S., we're starting to see more homelessness, more impoverishment, and people just need hope. And so that's what we do. We stand with people who are oftentimes forgotten.
Yep, a little bit of hope in these times is something that we all need. You know, like you mentioned when we're talking about this app idea, just this let's call it this little nudges of hope are things that can make us move forward. And speaking of moving forward, how do you feel like was one of those, like the biggest challenge that you got in the early days of Love Beyond Walls? How do you move forward past that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the earlier challenges is that I started this organization from scratch, no budget, no team, not even a lot of information about how to run or lead a nonprofit organization. And, you know, all I had was passion, right? And so I had to do a lot of research. I had to understand the inner workings of nonprofit leadership, how to actually form a nonprofit. And I just started it. I started it with my cell phone. I did this social awareness campaign where my family allowed me to live on the streets to bring awareness to the state of homelessness. And so I documented the journey and used social media and storytelling to humanize those that I was encountering. I was living under bridges and on street corners and in shelters, and I was going through a lot of the experiences that some of my friends who are unhoused go through day to day. And the story started to spread, right? And people started to ask, how can I get involved? Can I donate shoes? Can I bring blankets in the middle of the winter? Can I donate firewood? Because sometimes people who are unhoused will burn donated clothes just to stay warm outside when the temperatures are dropping, right?
Yeah.
Can I donate pizzas? Can I donate? And I started to understand that there's a connection between the way we tell stories, how we humanize people, and how it actually touches the hearts of those who are willing. They just don't know how to get involved. And so I use storytelling to start the organization, overcome a lot of the initial challenges of not having a budget in the team, and started to really build a community around what does it mean to take Love Beyond Walls? What does it mean to show up and sacrifice and volunteer and give back and ensure that people who are without have the resources they need to survive day to day. And so it was partly, you know, a learning curve, but as I got more entrenched into the work, I realized that this was my purpose, and I could use my gifts and skill sets to actually bring more good in the world.
No, that's great to hear. It's not every day that I hear someone actually be in the shoes of the people that they help. And this is my follow-up question to that. In your time, when you were having these experiences in the first days of Love Beyond Walls, are there any stories or things that you saw that comes to mind that you would like to highlight?
Yeah. You know, it is, it breaks my heart to, like right now in the U.S., we see the data report for the food survey suspended, right, which documents how many people are actually food insecure. And without that information, we can't tell who is in need. It breaks my heart to see public sanitation and encampment closures of people who are unhoused without having the proper resources to subsidize, right, or substitute for the closures, right? It breaks my heart to know that there are students who go to school every single day and they're being taught a lesson but they can't even connect with the lesson because they're thinking about they didn't eat that morning or the night before. The last time they ate was at lunch at school the day before, right? And so all of these circumstances kind of break my heart. It breaks my heart to know that some people can't access healthcare, right? Or they're losing healthcare support. And when you ask me that question, the first thing that comes to my mind is a guy named Tony. Is one of the first brothers I met while living underneath a bridge in the city of Atlanta, in the heart of the city. Tony was faced with terminal illness, and he needed access to medication, but he didn't have health insurance or the funds to even buy the medication. And so one morning, it was cold. It had to be around 13 degrees. I tell Tony, I'm like, yo, like I'm going to go up to the street corner and we'll stand on the corner. And he had his sign, and we were begging for money, right? Which would be considered panhandling for people who turn their heads away from people, right? And man, we asked 427 people for $1, and we only got 11. And wow. People said all types of harmful things, locked their doors, threw cans at us, said, obscene things. And they had no clue of the struggle on the other side of the sign. And it let me know that sometimes people are unaware to the point where they would allow that lack of awareness and the distance from someone else's story dictate how they actually mistreat them or withhold compassion. And I wanted to make sure that as I tell stories, as we continue to grow the organization, yeah, you may see someone who may not have an address, but there's a story on the other side of the sign. Maybe that person needs medication. Maybe that person needs access to healthcare. Maybe that person needs access to a meal, something that many people who have access to these things take for granted. And who am I? Who are we to withhold compassion and support from people when we ourselves at one point in our lives have needed it for ourselves?
Yeah, well, that's just just I'm a little bit emotional, but yeah, that story it hits hard because just knowing that out there are other Tonys that are having that experience right now, it's just hard to imagine. And I feel like that's the word that encompasses all of these feelings that I'm having towards that. It's hard to imagine that, and it's hard to know that it's a reality out there. It's a reality that hopefully Love Beyond Walls has been helping a lot. And following up on that, can you let us know how Love Beyond Walls is helping these Tonys of the world? What are your programs and things like that?
Yeah, I definitely feel you, brother. It is something that is very relevant, right? With the ways in which we see scarcity rising, not because it has to be that way, but because of the decisions that are made, right, by people in power. And so, man, we do anything from helping people get access to meals. We help people figure out pathways to get jobs. We help people recover identification cards, because sometimes when you're out there, you're living in a tent, if you get, a public sweep and you lose your identification, there's a path that has to happen, right? Or a journey that takes place to recover your vital records, your birth certificate, your social security card, any type of identification that you just need, right, to function in society. One of the most recent projects we are working on is a project called Zion's Closet. We're building community hubs in Title I schools for students who show up to school and they're unhoused. Maybe their families can't wash clothes. And so we retrofit a classroom and turn it into a all in one resource: washing machines and dryers, refrigeration, produce, access to hygiene items, technology labs for parents to fill out job applications, a space for social workers and counselors to meet with parents without the stigma and the shame of having to walk through a front door and feeling inadequate, right? And so that work, we launched a museum that represents homelessness to push back against the stigma or some of the misunderstandings or misinformation about what it means to not live to not have an address, right? And so we're doing a number of things. We have food co-ops. We, help people get access to temporary housing. It's a lot of things that we do to try to, what I would define as, build and be the community to people who are oftentimes forgotten. I think that's the most important work that we can be doing right now, is asking ourselves, how do we bring more good into the world? How do we show up with hope instead of hate? How do we show up in a way that says, I am my brother's keeper, right? That what I do for my neighbor, I'm also doing for myself. That's how we bring more goodness into the world. And it's all through the vehicle of love.
That's love, hope. It's really something that we definitely need more these times, and these more recent times. One thing that I would like to highlight is I've been reading on about Love Beyond Walls, and there are two phrases that stuck with me. One is you would like to create a world where no one's invisible, and you guys emphasize actions over words, which, given the programs that you told me about, better fit in a classroom, it truly makes it so that, you guys, how do you call it? Put your, what you guys say, you make it a reality. It's being made a reality. And following up on that, what do you feel like, in your own words, being visible, being seen, truly means in the context of poverty or homelessness?
Yeah. I think it was Mother Teresa that talked about how one of the greatest forms of poverty was isolation and loneliness, right? Sometimes when you are impoverished, when you are experiencing homelessness, you are isolated. You are, in many ways, deemed disposable, invisible, an eyesore, right? A problem, a social problem. And we forget oftentimes that when social rhetoric or social conversations related to people who are marginalized, we forget that these are human beings, right? These are living, breathing human beings that have inherent worth and value. And I always come from the position of, it doesn't matter if you made your bed beside a building in a tent or you're of a company. It does not matter. You have worth and value. And to be seen and have acknowledgement is powerful, right? To be acknowledged means that your inherent worth and value is lifted up beyond your circumstance. It means that you belong, right? It means that the essence of who you are matters. Being seen also helps one to be reminded that their worth is not dictated or predicated by anything outside of us that has the power to define us. And I think that is important. Being seen can lift the spirit. Being seen can include people in community. Being seen can mobilize a group of people to serve those who are considered least. Being seen reminds a person that their dreams still matter, right? And I think all of that is very important when it comes to being seen. Being seen sometimes can mean life or death for a person, hope or despair, right? And I think it's just important. And I wake up every single day, and that's my life's mission personally, but it's also the mission of our organization to ensure that people who have been excluded, right, people who are being overlooked, know that they matter just because they have breath in their body, right, because they are a living human being.
Well, that's great to hear, and it reminds me of small story I have. When I was a kid, I think I was around 7 or 8. I was walking with my grandpa around the park, and we encountered, and I saw in the distance, I saw someone that was just sleeping under the bench. And you could see that this person was unhoused. This person had like some rags on their clothes and things like that. And while I didn't react to that, my grandpa told me, this person, this could be your grandpa. This was a grandpa. This is a brother.
Yes.
This could be a father. This could be a cousin. And that stuck with me. And yeah, and that's what it is. This is a person. This is a person had family, had friends, had dreams.
Yes.
Dreams that maybe because of situations out of their control, it couldn't be achieved. And
yes,
yeah, that's what happened. That's what made it so that I have this idea in my head. We have to see the person that's beyond your first impression of someone who's unhoused.
Yes, man. Shout out to your grandfather, man. Your grandpa sounds like a wonderful, wonderful person, and I hear his heart in you, right? And that's why we're here, to share our hearts and remind people that every single person matters, no matter what location they come from.
Yeah, they do. And there is one thing that I would like to ask, going back a bit to how Love Beyond Walls helps. How do you balance, let's say, this immediate relief with food, clothing, and shelter with, let's call it, long-term change for the people that you help?
Yeah. I think it's relief and development, right? One of the guys that I met underneath the bridge when I first started the organization, his name's Robert, right? Robert was underneath the bridge the first time he ever experienced any form of drugs. His parent gave it to him when he was 12 years old, right?
Wow.
Heartbreaking story. Well, 11 years later, right, earlier this year, I walked into Robert's apartment. Robert had a lot of ups and downs over the 11 years, and his story reminds me that transformation is a process, right? That who am I to dictate how long it will take for a person to overcome their challenges? My role and responsibility is to continue to show up with relief, but also providing access for development. How do we empower people, right? And I think that comes at the core of relationships, right? And we also have to realize that relationships are mutual. There are times where I'm encouraged by my community, right? It's give and take, because sometimes we only see people who are poor or unhoused through a lens of being subservient, right? These many people have gifts and talents and wisdom and all of the things, right? I can talk about my friend Mark, who we helped to transition off of the streets, who was in corporate America before, right? Meaning he had a professional career and ended up on the streets. And we walked with him, helped him recover his identification card, reunited with families. But all during that process, not only are we meeting immediate needs, but we're just giving him space to build confidence in himself again before he can stand on his own 2 feet. And I'm proud to say that not only is he back working a professional job, but he recently got married. He moved into his own house. I mean, it's like, and then on the flip side, we have community members who may be in need longer, or who may never be in a position to beat back the impoverishment. But do we just stop serving? No. I am not, my only responsibility is to remain faithful to that which I'm called to do, to be community to other folks. Where they get to in their journey, that is a gift to me. Sometimes that is housing. Sometimes that is working a job. Sometimes that is just the fact that they found community in us. And I get a chance to celebrate that all. And I don't want to use someone else's story to measure or become a metric of somebody else's journey, because everybody's journey is different.
Yep. I can say that the help is expected. The success is a gift for you guys.
Yeah, that's right.
That's great to hear. Given that you've been working with this demographic for about 10 years now, what is that one key insight, or let's call it a perspective, that you wish more people understood about?
Yeah, that every single story is different. Every single person has their own unique journey into the plight, that we can't use generalizations as it relates to this subject. Homelessness itself is not monolithic. And we need to truly honor people's stories and get to know them. I think when we only judge people from a distance, we rob them of the opportunity of what it means or feels like to belong, right? And, I wish more people would not use second and third hand information to create a lens through which they see people that they've never met, right? Meet people, right? Know stories, and allow those stories to open your heart up to be more compassionate.
Yep. Just put yourself in the shoes of the people that
that's right.
Maybe criticizing them, because you did it, and they can do it too.
That's right. That's right. So,
for my last question, how do you see Love Beyond Walls evolving in the next few years?
Yeah, on my heart right now, as you know, and people may feel this in what we are seeing at this present moment, there's a huge need for education that builds more compassion towards populations and vulnerable groups. And so I see us being a part of that contribution and what it means to continue to humanize people in ways where people can have their inherent worth and value and dignity affirmed and not exploited or trampled upon. And so, we want to tell stories that creates the type of change in the hearts and minds of people who may judge others that they've never met.
Well, that's great to hear, Terence. And with that hopeful vision of the future, we'll wrap up today's conversation. Thank you so much for sharing the work Love Beyond Walls is doing and the impact it's making in the community. For anyone listening, if you'd like to get involved, you can check out the links in the description. As always, thank you all for watching. And Terence, thank you once again for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Oliver. You've been a great host, and I can sense that you're a very passionate person. So thank you for being who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, see you.
You've been listening to Unified Purpose, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.